So you've had your nose pierced for a while now and you can't seem to figure out how to get the jewelry out. Today we're talking about how to remove nostril rings and nostril studs. The first thing I want to talk about are the different types of studs. There are a few different types of studs, some which are awesome, some which not a big fan of. First one we're going to talk about is called a nostril screw. A nostril screw looks just like one of these guys right here, and a lot of times when these are put in, we bend them to fit to your nose, and then after maybe a month, even a couple months, you're going to want to have it readjusted so it fits tighter. Now the way these ones work, to remove this, you're going to want to soak your piercing probably a good 5 or 10 minutes, or just do this right after a shower, because any of the crusties you want super soft so they don't tear their way through when they're coming out. Now, you want to get it so that little metal part is hanging out the bottom of your nostril, so it kind of looks similar to this one right here. And then once you do that, you're going to take your finger and pull the jewelry straight down. Once it's straight down, it should look similar to this. Now, at this point, you should be able to grab the jewelry and be able to twist and kind of lightly roll it out. If it hurts, you need to get those crusties off and be gentle about this. It should just come out naturally. Now, the other style of jewelry is going to be called a nose bone. I'm not a fan of these because they have a little bead on the inside and the gem on the outside. The whole premise of these is you just push it and then the skin kind of closes around it. Each time you take these in and out, it's going to hurt. And the reason it's hurting is it's ripping and tearing, creating more and more scar tissue. So the more you take this in and out, the worse your scar is going to be. I would suggest staying away from this style of jewelry entirely. The Nostril L is basically a nostril screw where the person didn't put the little twist on the inside. I believe the nostril screws work better than the Nostril L's if they're bent properly. Now, the Nostril L is almost identical to the nostril screw as far as the removal and the putting in of the jewelry. The removal, get it so the metal part's hanging down, use your finger to pull it down, and it should just come straight out. Again, if it hurts, get those crusties off. And the last style of stud that I want to talk about today is going to be a Labret style or the threadless style. And it's going to look similar to this where it has a little tiny disc on the inside and the ball or gem on the outside. The first style I was going to talk about here is going to be the threadless. Now the threadless has just basically a pin with a small bend on it like this, and when you push it in, it's going to be held in by pressure. These are awesome. They generally don't fall out. They're kind of tricky to get in and out, so a lot of times people go to their piercer to have it changed, but some people can do this on their own. Now, the other style I was talking about is the threaded style. Now, there's two different threaded styles inside a style, right? First one is going to be an externally threaded. Never recommend this. This, in my opinion, is garbage jewelry. It's going to rip and tear each time it comes in and out. It's just a bad design. The other design is going to be an internally threaded. Now, these can work, but the reason I like the threadless versus the threaded is the threadless, you don't have to check the tightness. With threaded beads, you have to check once in a while to make sure it stays tight. And with it being a mucus membrane, it stays lubricated and it's tough to get a grip to make sure that bead stays tight. You're probably going to lose beads the fastest with the threaded jewelry like this. So maybe you don't have a stud and you have a ring in there, or you changed it to the ring. There are a couple different styles of rings here. There are capped bead rings, similar to this. There are clickers and seam rings. Clickers and seam rings sometimes are really, really tough to differentiate the difference between the two. Now the difference is with a seam ring, you're going to have to physically bend the ring similar to this right here. And the more you bend this back and forth, the more out of shape it's going to get. So if you have a ring in there and you wanted to put it in there forever and just not really worry about it, this is the style. Now the other style I'm talking about is called a clicker. A clicker is going to have a hinge on there, so as you can see right here, it opens up on the hinge. These are really, really easy to take in and out once you realize what you have in there. If you had a seam ring in there and you're trying to open like a clicker, it's not going to work. So you got to figure out what style of jewelry you have. Now, if you look really, really closely, the big difference is a seam ring is going to have one little gap in there, and a clicker should have two. But they're so small, they're almost tough to see. So you got to look closely. Now, when it comes to nostril jewelry, nostril piercings, I would say the biggest issue people have, besides the towels, is changing their jewelry too soon or changing it when it's irritated. Now, if your piercing is irritated, most of the time changing your jewelry will cause more problems. Now, if your jewelry is what's causing the problem, obviously you need to change the jewelry, but I personally would talk to a piercer before I actually just changed it on my own. Sometimes having a piercer change it can be easier. I do encourage you to learn how to change your jewelry yourself, because if it does fall out at 3 o'clock in the morning, a lot of us piercers aren't at work. We might be awake, but we're not at work to change it for you. So good luck on changing your jewelry. If you have any other questions about how to change your jewelry, leave it in the comments below. And like always, make sure to subscribe, give me a like, and keep putting holes in your body. We'll see you all on the next video.